Hello. Today I'm going to take you through a quick webinar on mould and why it matters and how I've seen it be the pathway to recovery and health for so many people. So my name is Vanessa Vanderhoek, and what I share with you in this webinar today does not replace one-on-one care that you have with a qualified health professional and shouldn't be considered health or medical advice. Happy to work with you as a client. However, what I say today, I don't know your health and family history. I don't know any of your experiences of what's been going on. And so this is education only. So what I'm going to share with you today is what is mould illness, where you may have been exposed or may still be currently exposed, and why you need to address this now and how to get started. I hear this so often, all the time, every day, where people say, well, it's just mould. Everyone has mould. Mould's everywhere. Yes, it may be a really common thing in your world. However, it is absolutely toxic, and I'm going to share with you why this is. If you have children, take note. It's even more important that we protect them because their immune systems are not mature to deal with these kinds of insults. So a little bit about me. I never had the intention ever of specialising in mould, that's for sure. I might just turn my camera off, actually. Hold on, that was audio. Yeah, never had the intention of focusing on mould because it was just something that I never had really much interest in, if I'm honest. And then earlier this year, one of my family members who has an autoimmune condition, their condition flared very severely and significantly. And I would say mould is one of the only stones that we hadn't turned over and had a look. It was one of the tests that we hadn't done, purely because our home has no mould. There's no black mould. There's nothing that you could physically see. So it hadn't been a test that I'd thought, look, yeah, we should do this. I spoke to some of the other people in her health team and we agreed to test. And what we found was huge levels of mycotoxins. And when you test urine for mould, it comes back with quite a few different markers, and I'll share you an example report shortly. One of them is mycophenolic acid, so MPA. And what you can see when someone's got MPA is they've been exposed to the metabolite from the mycotoxin in the last 12 or 24 hours before they did that wee. So when I see that on a test, I say to people, it's in your environment, it's in your house, it's in your car, it's in your workplace, it's wherever you were in that, 12 to 24 hours before you did that urine test. So what that did, so that set us off on a bit of a path to go, interesting, not here, can't see it. We had our home inspected many years before. A guy who was not very professional, I'd say, just came around and went, no, there's nothing here. So I knew I didn't want to get him back. So what I ended up doing was I ended up getting someone down from Sydney. So we had to order someone to come a long way to where I live in Canberra, and they tested our home. What I did before that, though, was I tested the air quality myself. Hey, Jenny.
Hi, Vanessa.
Feel free if you want. I just started recording. If you want to ask any questions, just unmute yourself
Sure,
or
shall
type
do.
it, type a
Thank
chat.
you.
You're welcome. Just going through my story and how traumatic it's been. So we tested the air, got hired a place, which if you need, details on where to get that, I can share that with you, where you test your air. And when we tested our air, sent the samples back, got the report really quick within, 2 or 3 days, our air came back that there were mycotoxins. So here we are going, can't see anything, can't smell anything. It's in the air, it's in the body. Now what? And that's where we said, look, we need to engage a building biologist which is a professionally trained person who comes into your home. And like I said, we brought her many hours down the highway from Sydney. And I said to her, "You're not leaving, sorry, until you find it." So she crawled through every crack and crevice of our home, under our home, in the ceiling cavity, and she found it in our ducted heating and cooling vent. So it's all in the ceiling. And so that had been blasting all over our carpets, all over our bedding, all over our furniture, all of our clothes, everything. So what that then led us to this, it was about 2 to 3 month procedure, remediation, which involved new roof, new insulation, new air conditioning, new heating. All the carpet had to go. We now have ceramic floor tiles that look like wood, but tiling a whole house took weeks and weeks. What else did we have to do? We had to patch up all the ceilings for all the vents that had changed, paint the whole house, wash every single piece of clothing on 60 to 90 degrees 3 times. That took 6 weeks. For kids that are younger, we had to wash all the toys 3 times, put them through the dryer, professionally clean all the mattresses and lounges. A lot we got rid of, though. A lot we just said, look, the spores in that particular room were too high, so we got rid of them. It was massive. And through the journey, my husband was saying, "Oh, look, you should be posting this on your Instagram, telling everyone." And I'll tell you what, it was too traumatic. It was too devastating as far as the impact emotionally. It was also really challenging because at that point, when they're ripping up carpet and all stuff like that, there's spores flying. So we were staying in an Airbnb for, I think it was like 2 to 3 months. So there was a lot going on as far as juggling health of someone in my family who was not doing well, work, showing up with really positive energy for my clients, but also project managing this schmozzle. So that's why I didn't share anything on Instagram or Facebook or social media, because I just couldn't do it with good energy. And I actually couldn't do it with not getting upset, because it was really a massively traumatic time. At the same time, what I was doing was delving into genetics further to understand how does mold impact our genes. But also what I was doing was doing a whole bunch of mold and autoimmune courses. So yeah, that 2 to 3 month period was a bit full on. But here I am. So here I am now helping a heap of my clients who have been exposed to mold. So I am an integrative and functional medicine nutritionist, a very special interest in gut health, autoimmune skin conditions. And now I say mold and nutrigenomics. I'm continuing my education and member of the Methylation and Genomics Institute. And I work with people all around the world, helping them. So why does it matter? And it's really good timing, Jenny, that you've jumped on, because mycotoxins, and I had someone email me this morning saying they can't come to the webinar. So hi, Jenny, watching the recording. She asked if we're talking about mold in the lungs, and it can. So we can take mycotoxins in when we eat, but we can also breathe them in. And the problem with these mycotoxins is they can affect our immune system and suppress immune functions. You look at, a classic autoimmune drug. It's very good at what it does, that we see rheumatologists use a lot, called mycophenolate. It's made from mycophenolanic acid. I'll just mess it up. But the metabolite that I said that we often see in people's body when they've been exposed to mold. And the problem is with these mycotoxins and these mold spores is that they can cause a decrease in our B cells. We see a decrease often in white blood cells, a decrease in stem cells, and we see this dysregulation of our inflammatory cytokines. And this can lead to tissue damage in organs and tissues. So it's very, very serious. And if we look at an image when you do a mold test, what you do is you get back a report and it has the various molds on it in bold for the areas where it impacts you. And what they do in this report is they actually tell you what the particular mold is that's in your body, what it's impacting, and what it can impact. It doesn't mean it's really causing you big symptoms right now, but down the track it may. For instance, carcinogenic. If you're not sure what that word means, it means cancer causing. So these molds have good literature to say they're carcinogenic. And we're talking, group 1, 2, and 3, like very, very serious carcinogens. They can impact neurological function, cause oxidative stress, so really fuel inflammation, immunotoxic, hepatotoxic, nephrotoxic, so impacting your kidneys, impacting the gut, and can impact your reproduction as well. So, and you can see that, many of them are across various areas. Like I said, just unmute or chat if you've got any questions. So, look, common sources. And look, some of my clients, they live in almost brand new homes. And this is a thing that is so frustrating is when I talk with my colleagues, that they're saying the same thing, that brand new homes, they're seeing a similar amount of people with mold. And it's because of ventilation. Apparently, the way that they're sealing up the houses, there's not good ventilation and flow. And I had a client recently, I won't say who it is, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying, she's got a beautiful home. I would say it's a mansion. It's gorgeous, pretty brand new, only a few years old, with floor to ceiling windows, beautiful big glass windows, but they get condensation on the windows in winter. And that condensation has now caused a mold problem in the carpet. And as my husband calls it, an invisible mold. So aspergillus is a fungus, it's invisible often. And so if you're having condensation on windows, we've got to work out how to get rid of that. That is not a good thing, having condensation on the inside of your windows. It's usually a winter problem. For most people, when I suggest you leave the windows open a little bit, a crack, like maybe a centimetre, even in Canberra where it's freezing, that can help alleviate it. But there are other tricks that many people do around trying to seal up their windows and things like that. But you've got to make sure your windowsills and doors are properly sealed. Plumbing, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? Checking for plumbing, making sure, things like the dishwasher, the washing machine, you leave them open when they've been used. You don't let them get all moldy and smelly. Ice makers, if you've got water filters, things like that, making sure you're cleaning them. And definitely if you've had a pipe burst, you've got to make sure that you do get professional, heavy grade dehumidifiers to dry the water out in your home. Bathrooms, look, people often say to me, oh no, I just have the normal amount of mold in my bathroom. Well, in my books, there's no normal amount of mold in a bathroom. Another client actually told me, and she won't mind me telling you this either, is that she learned that you need to reseal your silicone and the grout in your bathroom every 4 to 5 years. And she was spot on. I spoke to a plumber who did ours, and he said exactly the same thing. So to protect the backing and the integrity of your water seal, it's important that you're getting your grout resealed. So again, if you've got mold on in the shower, in drains, in ventilation fans, we've got to be cleaning that. And if you're struggling with products, let me know, because there are some really good products that can help really draw out and kill the spores. Closets are a big one. And I often have clients say, oh yeah, look, I just wipe it off, or I just wash the jumper or the leather skirt or whatever. wipe it down. You got to get it professionally cleaned if you see particularly black mold. Our situation was different because we didn't have any black mold. Stachybotrys is what it's called. We had aspergillus, which is a fungus. If you got black mold, I would bin it. It's almost impossible to get that out, or find a professional cleaner. Definitely don't put away wet clothing. And also making sure, things like towels in your bathroom, they're well stretched out and aired and things like that. Fireplaces and chimneys definitely need professional cleaning. And I think also down here, we've got air conditioning vents. And a lot of people do not clean their filters of their air conditioning system regularly. It should be done at least, our air conditioning guy said monthly. We just pull out whatever it's called, the filter, I suppose, and clean it. And how he's told us is to hose ours and leave it outside to dry. But just check with your air conditioning people as to what's the best way to clean it. Because most people tell me they've never cleaned it. And that's really common. I didn't know you had to clean them either. Definitely if you've got a dryer in your laundry room, making sure it's got good ventilation. This is a place that I see often. People find when they get the building biologist, they've got issues. Basements, anywhere where it's damp, dark, not well ventilated, garages, sheds, things like that. If you've got really heavy rain, and particularly in places like Canberra where we've got tiles, not ColourBond, making sure that there's no leaks, particularly if there's lots of wind, things that, like they say here, heavy rain and snow. Fridge, again, just making sure you are cleaning your fridge, cleaning your crisper. A good thing to do is to put down a few paper towels in the bottom of your crisper, or put down a few tea towels, and then every week take it out. Take out everything in the crisper, give it a bit of a wipe down. Whatever's left, I usually cook as a soup or something like that, and then buy fresh. And that's a really good routine to get in, so you're cleaning out your refrigerator. And of course, food is the last one. Although I will say, if you're getting numbers on your mycotoxin test, it can be from food, but it's most likely from breathing it in, usually. But definitely don't eat anything. I often see people going, oh, look, one strawberry in the pack was moldy, and it wasn't touching. Well, the spores were all there. Given I know how hard it is to detox mold, it typically takes a year to detox mold. I just don't risk it. I'm just like, right, chuck them if they're moldy. Any questions, Jenny? You just let me know. So these are the common questions that I ask people. Do you live or have you worked in a building that has flooded? And I've had people who say yes. We live in Australia, or we do, Jenny and I do. You may not. But a lot of Australia has flooded in recent years. And so this is a question where many people say, yeah, yep, my building flooded at work, or there was a water leak, there was water running through a light fitting, a tile came loose, something happened. So if you say yes to one of those, it doesn't matter that it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Mold doesn't really shift the body too easily. We really got to poke and prod it. So that could be a factor. So I need you to park that. Does your house have a basement that is damp? I might also add there basement, what did we say before? Garage, or a shed that is damp. Anywhere, really. Is your home older than 20 years? Like I said, we are seeing it in new homes as well. Can you see it? So if you can see it, then we're going to do something big time. But most people can't see it. Does it smell musty or stale? And this is a really important question, especially if you go away on holidays and then you come home and you open the front door and you walk in and you're like, oh, it smells musty or stale. That can be a sign that there's not good ventilation and there may be some mold hanging about. Does it lack ventilation? Do you get that condensation on windows? Do you experience symptoms? So when you go in the kitchen, do you sneeze? When you go in your bedroom, do you cough? At work, do you feel tired? Are there certain locations? Is it, I had a client the other day and she was like, oh my gosh, it's my mum's house. And all of her symptoms, she is in her 50s. All of her symptoms began in childhood, and her mum still lives in the same house. And when she visits, she noticed that it was the mum's house. So for 50 years, there's been not only this biochemical thing going on for her, but also a genetic expression. So that's kind of changed her way of thinking. And it's made it a bit tricky because obviously bringing the grandkids to the mum's house is not something she wants to do now that she's learned that some of their immune health challenges are due to mold. So really think about it. Think about, am I exacerbated? Do I feel better? A lot of people feel better when they go on holiday, and we go, oh, it's because you're relaxed, you're in the sun, you're seeing friends, you're doing whatever. Often it's because they're out of their environment. So that could be something to think about as well. And the other one is, are people or pets often sick? So common symptoms. And look, I'm going to warn you, this is long. So there's about 5 slides here. But what I want you to do is just jot down notes or just park it and go, yep, 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 yep. These are the symptoms that I've got. It's not saying that mold's the only thing that's at play. Usually what mold does, and I'll talk through it in a bit, is mold impacts your biochemistry. And depending on your genetics, it can cause some really debilitating symptoms. So if I'm exposed and the next person, I'm probably going to do worse because some of my detox genes, some of my methylation genes are not fantastic. I've got to work pretty hard to keep myself healthy. Whereas the next person might be okay. So I just want you to take this with a bit of a grain of salt. Just if you want, jot down some notes. Like I said, just either park it. And I'll explain to you as we go, because like I said, there's about 4 or 5 pages here. So common symptoms, I often hear people saying pain, aching, stiffness, cramping, restless legs, and I often see restless legs with SIBO as well, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And I see a lot of people with SIBO who, when we dig, the root cause is often mold as well. So there's a link there. Bone pain, arthritis, and autoimmune osteoarthritis as well, rheumatoid arthritis, and feeling weak. Eyes are a big one, absolutely massive, because when you think about it, the spores are impacting the microbiome in the eye. So burning, irritation, sticky eyelids, loss of peripheral vision, blurred vision. And for me, this was huge, night vision problems. And there is a test that you can do to test your biotoxins and how they're impacting your brain and your vision. And it's a test that they use in the US for fighter pilots to check how, if they're being impacted by biotoxins. I was like, no, all of this problem going on in our house, not affecting me, I'm fine. I failed this biotoxin eye test incredibly miserably. And then when I thought about it, I was like, my night vision's bad. I've tried to avoid driving at night for quite a while. And since I've been doing this mold detox, which we're about 6 months in, 5 months in, it's improved. And I just did this biotoxin eye test recently, and one eye is green, tick. the other eye still needs some work. So basically what that is saying is that the mold is impacting my brain, which is impacting that ability for me to decipher really slight changes in some of the tests, these images that they were running. Absolutely fascinating. Shortness of breath, of course, respiratory stuff, okay? I say as I cough. Shortness of breath, excessive mucus, coughing up mucus, postnasal drip, sore throat, exacerbation of asthma. I will say my eldest daughter doesn't cough as much at all in the morning. She's not coughing at all in the morning now, think about it. Whereas beginning of the year, last year, cough, 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 cough every morning. Gone, finished, which is a really good thing. So we've got to remember when we're sleeping, got to keep our mouth shut. During the day, unless we're talking, keep our mouth shut. Most people are not breathing through their nose. We need to be breathing through our nose, so we are filtering our air. This is all set up appropriately, very sophisticated system to filter our air, but unfortunately for a lot of people and a lot of my clients who are suffering quite significantly from mold illness, they're breathing through their mouth. You can tape your mouth that way or that way, just with gentle tape that you buy at the chemist. You can go and get an assessment to see why you're breathing through your mouth. For a lot of people, it's because they've been blocked in the nose. So if you're blocked in the nose, it's probably not the greatest idea to tape your mouth. We've got to try and work out how we clear that first. Swollen or discoloured tongues, cracks in the corner of the mouth, again, are mineral deficiencies usually. That throat clearing or that hoarse in your voice, that's really common. You may get food intolerances out of nowhere, not bloating. I've got bloating here, bloating, nausea, diarrhea, constipation, belching, heartburn, gas. So you can see if you've got small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, you know, it's mostly this stuff. So you can see there's a strong link. The other things I find are brain fog, that inability to find your own words, going, what was that? Short-term memory loss, where did I put the keys? Why am I going in this room? Can't remember. Feeling spacey, and loss of balance is a really big one as well, running into things, feeling tense and nervous, irritable, loss of motivation. And a really big category is headaches and migraines, faintness, coordination and balance, and tingling in the extremities. Now, the thing is, these symptoms could mean a whole raft of things, but if you're ticking a lot of boxes and you've been exposed to a water event or a mold environment, that's when we say, look, it's probably worth testing. It's probably worth looking a bit deeper. Some more: sudden weight gain without change in diet, rashes, urticaria, hives, dry skin, really sudden flare of acne or acne that won't go away, sweating, flushing, hair thinning, hair falling out, premature graying. So you might look at some of these and go, oh, that looks like thyroid. Well, yes, of course, because mold can really agitate the thyroid. Low energy, low fatigue, afternoon crashes, difficulty falling asleep, waking up, finding it hard to fall back asleep, waking up unrested, and the bladder, massive, frequent urination, pelvic pain, and itching. And that's because a lot of these molds and fungus also produce oxalates, and oxalates are very irritating to the kidneys. And I found with a client recently, urinating all night. When we stopped to say, look, you know, it could be because these mycotoxins are also producing oxalates, and did some things, the urination has slowed right down. It's gone. It went to once a night and now it's stopped, which is amazing. Amazing to see results so quick. So this is an example of a report. The one that I said, which gives us a good idea, is it in your system or is it in your environment right now, is this one. mycophenolic acid, MPA. And you might look at some of these and go, look, those numbers don't look too big. Ochratoxin, 54. You want it 0. You want ochratoxin not to be on there at all. You want it as a DL, did not register. How we read it is we kind of look at the number, but also as a health professional, I know if it's not 0, it's got to go for this one. But also look at the chart. So it's right at the end and you're going, wow, okay, that shouldn't be there. We just don't, there's not a one size fits all with treating molds and mycotoxins. What we're going to do is look at your report and go, okay, what does it show up? Firstly, MPA is there. It's in your environment. We can't treat too much. What we've got to do is bind up what you're exposed to every day while you wander around, try and work out where the hell it's coming from. And for us, that was from February to late April. February, March, April. 3 months. Took 3 months for us to find out because I had to test the air, send it off, find the building biologist, book in. She had to come down. She had to write a report, which, by the way, was 150 pages. Then I had to read the report. Then I had to get everything into place. So it can take a while. So what we do is while you're exposed, we bind. So every day you're able to get rid of, what you're exposed to as long as you're pooping every day. And then, for instance, in this person's case, we would then go for the gliotoxin first. So there's not a one size fits all for many of these. Some of them we have to work on first. So because gliotoxin impacts sulfur, so we want to get that sorted first so we can make sure your sulfur pathways are running and your detox is optimal. So yeah, fascinating stuff. We don't retest for 1 year. I did the mistake and retested 6 months later, and the numbers were through the roof. 15,000 was one of them. Massive. I rang the lab in the US and said, what is this? And they said, yep, we told you not to retest for 1 year. Takes a year because you're poking the bear, so to speak, and you're pulling them out of the cell gently. You're going to see big, scary numbers. So I always counsel my clients that we retest 1 year later. And look, if you've been to my genetic webinar, you would have heard me talk about methylation. And methylation is basically how we make our DNA and healthy cells. And the thing is that, you've got this folate factory, how you eat and make folate, then you've got the warehouse, and then you've got this process of how you take the methylfolate to the cells. It's called the methyltransferases. And mold impacts here, MTHFR, it impacts methionine synthase, it impacts MTRR, methionine synthase reductase. That all impacts your B12 processes. It impacts through the middle, the BHMT, how you recycle homocysteine to make methionine. It impacts CBS, so this whole transsulfuration pathway and how you make your body's master antioxidant, glutathione. And it also impacts SUOX, which is incredibly important in your detox pathways. So mold blocks, or inhibits, whatever word you want to use, reduces, downregulates. It's not the greatest. So if you've already got specific genetic polymorphisms that make your methylation and your transsulfuration and other pathways run slow, mold is not being very helpful. It's making it much harder for you to stay healthy. So, and quite possibly why we see a lot of those conditions and illnesses that I spoke through earlier. So understanding your environment, including mold, nutrition, genetics, and how they all intersect can be really powerful. And like I said, not only for you, but if you have kids, their immune system is not developed enough to be able to handle it. So we've got to be able to help them very gently, very slowly to optimize their health. And taking this approach really takes you away from a reactive healthcare to more proactive measures. So to get started, test, don't guess, get a personalized plan. We work on how to pre-tox you and gently detox based on your genetics. Like I said, it can take a year. Usually it's a minimum year. For some people, it could be 2 years plus. Very slow, very gentle if you've got, autoimmune or other conditions going on, because we don't want to flare anything. We don't want to push any of the pathways too quick. We just want to go slow. And usually that works quite well with people while they're trying to work out the source. Where has it come from? Especially if they've got MPA. So what you've got to do is you just book an appointment, complete the forms, provide me any copies of any testing you've done. I want to see all blood work, because blood work can also give me some random clues. I'll start to join the dots on any mold exposure you've had and symptoms. We order the urine test and the genetic test if you want to know how your genetics intersect. I highly recommend it if you've been sick and struggling for a long time to have the genetic test, because then we can use that as extra information to really inform what we do and how we do it and how fast and how slow to go. And we get going with some recommendations. And you'll, get detailed explanation of your results, nutrition advice, lifestyle suggestions, supplements, any further testing you need, and your questions answered. So that's it. So if you want to book an appointment, you just go online. If you've got any questions, you can book a free discovery call. So that's probably the best way. If you say, look, I watched this, I've got some questions, book a free discovery call, and then I can answer them for you directly. So that's it. Thanks for today. I'll speak with you soon.